Hello again. Now, the Isle of Man sometimes sits in a rather nice position geographically at times like this, a northwest British island, coupled often with Atlantic southwesterly breezes, bringing regular lumps of heavenly water, a good thing given our lack of, e.g. limestone or porous stone underground. So as we head into a spell of frankly horrible weather, what can we do to reduce our risk of becoming sort of negatively impacted? As usual, it's the ends of life scales that are challenged. Every year we see at meds or in A&E, infants too young to hide from all the UVA and UVB light and heat, sitting there, clearly having had too much sun exposure. Often the parents and carers fooled by any prevailing winds making it seem cooler than it actually is. Slip, slap, slop comes to mind once again. Slip into some light, ideally cotton-bathed clothing, plenty of ventilation. Slap on a head covering of whatever type, and slap on a high-factor sunblock of all standard things in these conditions. Sweating. Useful latent heat evaporation physics at play here, of course. It takes quite a lot of latent idling energy to convert sweat into vapour at the skin surface, thus using a good sort of build-up of energy and dissipating it in calorie form, thus cooling the surface. So, in these less able to utilise these forces, i.e. infants and the older generation, that's potentially very significant in very hot weather. Adults taking prescribed medication, such as diuretics, aka water tablets, such as furosemide, bumetanide, benfluoreside, indapamide, spironolactone, to name a few. But others who never heard of these things, they sound like they're from Mars, but they're genuine medications. Taken for heart or blood pressure reasons, these souls just must take on extra fluids, if allowable, to compensate, although some renal failure patients have other instructions, of course, fluid intake in severely hot weather. The standard 8 cups a day, which tends to suggest for adults, looks less than adequate in these conditions, of course. However, we do have a good indicator right in front of our eyes, giving us a clue how things are, rehydration. It's called urine. Yeah. Yes, and again, it's our go-to indicator. Clear or slightly lemon yellow in colour. If that is seen cascading regularly down the porcelain, you're doing okay. Don't be fooled by caffeine, nor alcohol, of course. Both increase water excretion above the volume ingested. Interestingly, alcohol inhibits a chemical you produce in your pea-like pituitary gland deep in your brain, and this stops you passing excess water, keeping the fluid balance going. Inhibit this with alcohol, and yep, you pee more than you drink. Part of the reason we all feel so dry after a night with Mr. and Mrs. Ale. So, water, juice, cordials are best. Hydrations, of course. Then we have other medications that don't really help in hot conditions. Beta blockers slow our heart rates down artificially. It's great in many conditions, but perhaps not so when you need to increase your output when hot. So-called anticholinergics reduce our saliva production and sweat production. Again, a challenge in these conditions. What are they? Well, a large group of medications found in medicines for all kinds of things, from bladder control to gut control to inhaled versions such as ipratropium or similar. Things such as Spiriva or Atrovent, inhalers or nebulizers come to mind. So in essence, rest out of the sun if possible. Keep covered up in appropriate sunscreen too, and most of all, fluid intake. Make sure it's adequate. Some of us like cacti in these habits of ours, others are not. Just take the extra glasses or 2 of water daily at the moment, at the very least, I would suggest. Let's try to avoid that horrible headache of sunstroke. As the old Jays rock hard, too shy to absorb, smelling of disinfectant loo paper used to state, it makes sense. Wash your hands. Maybe Jays foretold COVID. Stranger things have happened. Pray for rain. Goodbye.